Welcome to Ask Klein Math. Today we're going to be looking at this third grade 2023 star release question. I'm going to go to my question sentence. What is the width of the garden in feet? Okay, so if I turned that into a sentence stem to plug my answer into later, I would say the width of the garden is blank feet. So that's how I'll be able to check to see if my answer makes sense. So let's get into our problem and see what information they've given us. Vince built a fence around a rectangular garden. Okay, so we're talking about gardens again. So I don't see a shape here, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my graph paper and I'm going to draw a shape. So we know that the shape is a rectangle. Today's Ask Klein Math video is going to be over a third grade star release question from 2023. So let's go ahead and read our question sentence. What is the width of the garden in feet? So I'm looking for the width of a garden. Width is that key math word. So let's go ahead and write that out into a sentence so that when we find our answer later, we can plug it in and see if it makes sense. The width of the garden is blank feet. Okay, so let's go into our problem and see the information that has been given to us. Vince built a fence around, okay, so a fence around his rectangular garden. So they've given us a shape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my graph paper, and I am going to draw my shape. All right, so a fence around, and that could be our garden. The perimeter of the garden is 26 feet, so that's going to be new information. But we are talking about the fence around something, and the perimeter is the measurement around a shape. So the perimeter of the garden is 26 feet. So perimeter of garden is 26 feet. The length, so we're getting new information here. The length of the garden is 8 feet. Let's write that information down so we know the perimeter is 26. The length is 8 feet. So on my shape, I know that when I'm talking about a rectangle, that I'm going to have two sets of equivalent sides. So if I know the length is 8 feet, then I'm going to label these sides as my length. And if this is 8 feet, this side is 8 feet, and I'm solving for the width. That means that these two sides, my other pair of equivalent sides, my width, and I don't know what that is. That's what I'm solving for. So to solve for perimeter of any shape, you're going to add up the sides. So for perimeter of a rectangle, it is the length plus the width and the width. Let's plug in what we know. We know the perimeter, or the distance all the way around, is 26 feet. We know that the length is 8 feet. So every place I have an L, I'm going to plug in 8, because it's this side plus this side plus this side plus this side for my perimeter. Well, I don't know my width. That's what we're solving for, right? So when I'm doing my math, I know that I can combine 8 plus 8. That will get me 16. I know that my perimeter is 26. And then we're adding the two widths together with the 16 to get the 26. So let's back out of what we know already. I already know that my perimeter is 26, and I already know that my two lengths added together is 16. I need to find out what's left over to figure out how much the width of the rectangle is. So I'm going to take my perimeter of 26, and I'm going to subtract out my combined length of both sides to figure out what that combined width is. So 6 take away 6 is 0, 2 take away 1 is 1. So this 10 is equal to width plus width. Because it's a rectangle, this width length is equal to this width. So what two same numbers can be added together to make 10? There's two ways of solving for this. I have two widths and I know a total. So I can either divide 10 by 2, or 10's kind of an easy number for me to look at, and I know that I can make 10 by adding 5 and 5. So my width is 5. So the width of the garden is 5 feet. If I want to plug this in just to check it, I can. We know that the perimeter was 26. We know that each one of the lengths is 8. Each one of my widths is 5. This added together is 10. This added together is 16, and I know that 16 plus 10 equals 26, so it checks.